Greetings, this is Paul, your Pacific Northwest trail guide. I want to help you pick your next trail to explore, so let's check this one out. The hike up to the summit of Kings Mountain from Kings Mountain Trailhead is great for people that want to do a bunch of climbing in a short distance. This guide will take you on an alternate route, however. You'll end up at the same destination, but take a more scenic and less traveled route, adding a few miles of distance. It also includes a short stretch of Scrambly Ridge Trail to make things more interesting. Overall, you'll end up going around 9 miles round trip and ascend about 3,300 feet. The starting point for this hike is at an off-road vehicle staging area, which also has a camping area. Camping there is reserved for people using the OHV trails, though. The Jones Creek campground is just 1.5 miles back up the Wilson River Trail from this area, though, so that would be a good place to camp if you wanted to do this hike as part of a camping trip. This hike has long stretches of steep, rugged trail, so if you like to use trekking poles to assist on that kind of terrain, bring them along. If you head west on Highway 26 from the Portland metro area, you'll take the exit for Highway 6 towards Banks to get to this hike. After that exit, it's about 29 miles on Highway 6 to Jones Creek Road, with signs for the Smith Homestead, where you turn right for the last 1.5 miles of your drive to Diamond Mill OHV staging area. Watch for the fork off to the right for North Fork Wilson River Road. Take that and continue until shortly after another fork to the right drops you down into the OHV area. There's a huge parking area here, and the Wilson River Trail runs along the east side of it, so you can park anywhere and head towards the river to pick up the trail. The bridge crossing for the trail is all the way at the back of the lot, though, if you want to be closest. If you happen to park near the OHV lot entrance, you might head over and get a look at Lester Creek Falls. Otherwise, follow the trail out the back corner of the lot here to join up with the Wilson River Trail and approach the large, elegant footbridge crossing the river. The trail exits the bridge and climbs up the bank on the other side to get you started on your hike. The first section of this hike takes us up a gradual ascent high up into the gorge of Lester Creek, continuing all the way to a crossing of Lester Creek where the trail cuts back on the other side of the gorge for a stretch to a junction with the Kings Mountain Junior Trail. The first half of your ascent up into the hills, you are surrounded by a fairly young, mostly Douglas fir forest with a remarkable density of sword ferns. A couple of times on this stretch, you cross old roads that were used many decades ago when this area was logged. With most of the climbing out of the way for this stretch at under 2 miles in, the setting changes from a quiet, shrouded forest to a slightly exposed trail following along the rocky cliffs. You begin to see salal bushes here and there, and before long pass by some great views of the gorge. Two pinnacles of rock frame the inside of the Lester Creek Gorge. As you pass this view, you dive in towards the crossing of Lester Creek, after which the trail turns south. At a little over the 3-mile mark, you reach the junction with the Kings Mountain Junior Trail. This is unmarked, so keep your eyes open for the smaller trail heading up the ridge as you curve around the ridge on the Wilson River Trail. You cut sharply left and head up a very steep scramble through thick but short underbrush. For the next section of this hike, we follow Kings Mountain Junior Trail along the ridgeline for over a half mile until we join up with the main Kings Mountain Trail. Then follow that up to the summit of Kings Mountain. This Kings Mountain Junior Trail might be a little more rugged than most people are used to. It's steep and less obvious, but easy enough to follow. It's a nice little taste of something more rugged if you're interested in dabbling in less traveled trails. The ridge takes you up and down a couple of steep climbs, and eventually you join up to Kings Mountain Trail, possibly looking like a wild person bursting out of the bushes to people traveling the much busier Kings Mountain Trail. The Ridge Trail was an off and on steep up and down, but the Kings Mountain Trail continues from here at an unrelenting steep ascent all the way to the top, about another half a mile. There's a few fun rocky sections on the trail to climb, and when you pass a picnic table and emerge onto some more exposed areas, you know you're close to the top. As you arrive at the top of Kings Mountain, the summit box lies on a little spur to the right. And to the left, you'll find some great places to kick back and enjoy the view. Just be sure to keep your snacks safe from the gray jays. When you're ready to head back, you've got a lot of steep downhill ahead of you that's likely to fly by. Remember to keep an eye out for the unmarked junction for Kings Mountain Junior Trail and turn right on it. You don't want to end up at the wrong parking lot. As you say goodbye to Coronary Ridge and make the last steep descent to the Wilson River Trail, you've just got 3 laid-back miles to go as you return through that stretch of Lester Creek Gorge. This version of the Kings Mountain summit is much longer than the sub 5 mile route that starts at the Kings Mountain trailhead, but you might find it much more enjoyable. If you just want to cram in the most amount of punishment in the shortest amount of time though, I guess the shorter version is good for that. The terrain for this route rates 3 rocks out of 5 in consideration of the more difficult terrain you encounter on the trail. The less traveled terrain of the ridgeline and steep rocky sections of the last half mile are above and beyond your typical hiking trail. No special environmental factors to consider other than the moderate elevation and a little exposure to consider for elements. The length and climb of this hike are both well above average, but not pushing the absolute limits for a day hike, so they rate 4s. That wraps up this edition of Pacific Northwest Trail Guide. I hope I have or will soon help you pick your next trail to explore. I scouted this trail in December of 2021, but trails are always evolving. If you pick this trail and encounter any changes people might like to know about, please help out your fellow explorers by sharing in the comments on this video. I've shown some of the beautiful sights of this trail in what feeble capacity a video can render. A picture may be worth 1,000 words, but an experience with all of your senses cannot even be conveyed in pictures or videos. So don't take my word for it. Get out there and see it for yourself.